John Dugan is the Missouri State Archivist, which is a job that would take a lot of man hours, but he's the guy for the job, and we celebrate the 250th. Missouri, a big part of that. Good morning, John.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So, how long have you been the archivist?
18 years.
So
I've
you've
been
been
with the Secretary
archiving.
of State's office for 18 years.
That's awesome. So you've been busy.
Absolutely. We try and do our best to preserve and make available all the records of Missouri to the citizens.
Well, and we're celebrating our bicentennial, or did, so we've been here for 200 of those years.
Absolutely, and even in the Spanish and French period, we were here then too. So we have the distinction of having the most western battle of the American Revolution was fought here in Missouri.
That's amazing. And, right in Capahal Park, right here in Cape Girardeau, we had a pretty wicked battle between the two sides. So, we've got a lot of history right here just in our town.
Absolutely. And they supported the major battle of San Carlos in St. Louis as well. Everyone went up and basically kept the British forces from controlling the Mississippi River with several engagements, that being one of them, and the most major one being, it's also called the Battle of St. Louis.
And, people should know that. If you live here, you really ought to know these things. And that's what the archives are for, right?
Absolutely. We probably do more work helping people with their genealogy and their local history than Revolutionary War history, because it was very early in our history. But we try and help people. We have over 1 million hits on our website each month, helping people do that kind of research, and thousands of requests a year. Where we're trying to help people access those records.
Yeah. And, it should be, when I was a kid in another state, we had civics. We had to learn everything about the history of our state in order to pass 8th grade. I mean, we couldn't pass 8th grade without an entire semester of just civics about our state. We had to know our state government. We had to know the history of the state. And did they still do that?
So there is national civics in high school, but in Missouri, the Missouri history is actually in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, and we have thousands of students come to our building and do a tour every year. We help reinforce what's in the curricula for that. We have what's called Archives Alive that our Friends group sponsors. It's a theatrical performance where the students watch people come in and out of a time machine throughout Missouri history. So, it's done in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade here in Missouri, though.
Good. It's good to hear, though, that it's happening at all. So, as an archivist, I mean, you've been there 18 years, but so much has gone on. Have you found yourself just kind of lost in the files, reading through everything, trying to catch up with it all? That's got to be a lot.
It's a massive collection. Whenever I do a presentation, like we have our annual meeting this weekend, I oftentimes just talk about what was new that was found this week. We just finished processing over 100,000 slides of the Missouri Department of Conservation this week. So oftentimes, I don't get the time as an administrator to get lost in the records. That's hopefully for the public to do. But we're very proud of our collection we have here. We just put over 50 videos online of Missouri history, including some of early Missouri Department of Transportation vehicles that get a lot of hits. That you don't always know what the public is interested in. Our most popular collections are the Missouri death certificates for genealogists and the Missouri State Penitentiary records. Oddly, so
that is everybody wants to know if their neighbor did something bad, or if their record is still on record. But and people have opinions about how things went down, and that's with everything from today all the way back to the Civil War. So it's archived. It's written down by someone who was there as written history. So I think the videos are going to be the way to go, though, because I like to read, but kids want to watch.
Sure. We do a lot of outreach through our social media programming, our Facebook page. We try and do at least one post a day on some snippet of maybe lesser-known Missouri history, and that's really popular. We don't do as many little video shorts, I think, as the kids like. Most of ours are, because as an archives, we try and preserve the original record, so they may be more long-form videos, but, if you want to watch outtakes of John Goodman down in Sykeston catching thrown rolls, that's one of the new videos we just put up. So, and it's fun and interesting, so.
I don't mean to be disrespectful, but is he still alive?
He is. Yeah,
okay,
yeah. I think
sure.
he comes. I think he comes to some of the Mizzou football games occasionally. So,
okay.
Yeah,
I mean, we've got a lot of famous people from Missouri, so that's not a shocker to me. I mean, even Brad Pitt's from here, and Cedric the Entertainer. A lot of cool people. I don't mean to leave out Mark Twain, Samuel Clemens, all the President Sherman, all of those guys. But our archives have got to be huge, and so now that everything's digital, I'm guessing there's less clutter. I don't know.
So we try and make sure that everything is organized. Unfortunately, we don't have everything on scan and online. We try and put the most access, the most demanded records online, like those death certificates and the penitentiary records that I was talking about. But we probably have maybe about 1% of our records online. I mean, just as a point of reference, we have thousands of motion picture films that the state has produced over the years, and we probably only have between 200 and 300 online. We have millions of photographs that were taken over time, and we probably have several 100,000 photographs on Missouri Digital Heritage. So a lot is out there, but there's a lot more that you can discover through our finding aids and our indexes that we have on our website, too. So if we don't have it online, but you can discover it on our website, we're really easy to work with to try and make them available to you.
Well, and 200 years is a lot to keep track of. So I'm sure when somebody calls for something very, very specific, it might take a second to find it. But in the digital world, it's a lot easier. It's just, have you digitized everything now? I mean, is it all done?
No. I think it's an accurate estimate to say about 1% of our holdings have been scanned. So, and only 1%. Now, the great thing, though, is on the backside of that is that we get a lot of what we call digitally born records, and those records come to us already digitally, and so those are much easier to deal with in some ways from a discoverability standpoint because they are already scanned. But no, we still have a lot of records a collection that one of our volunteers is working on scanning right now is all the mug shots that go with the Missouri State Penitentiary and other penitentiary records. So that collection alone is several 100,000 photographs, and it takes a lot of time to scan those one at a time. So it'll be a long time before we get everything online, I'm sure.
All right, and I mean, people think that everything goes through like a copier and it's just done and then it's just over with and you can just move on, but you have to actually preserve those original documents as well. You don't just throw them out.
Absolutely. And we have a local records division that works with all counties and cities and those kind of things. And a good example, when we get court records from one of the local courts, like Cape Girardeau Court system that we worked with in the past, we actually have to humidify the records and flatten them and take out metal fasteners and remove adhesives so they can even be scanned. And then we index them and put them online with the scan. So it's a long process to make those records accessible. But once they're accessible, then if you're doing research on a historic home in Cape Girardeau or a family from Cape Girardeau, you'll have immediate access to them through our website.
Yeah. Okay. So if people want to, can they physically come visit you?
Oh, absolutely. We're open 8 to 5 all of the time during the week except on federal and state holidays. We do have one Saturday a month that we're open as well. And we'd love to have people come in person. So this time of year, with it being summertime, we do have more researchers coming in person than we do during most of the year. But we're also easy to work with at a distance. You can go on our website and request anything. We don't charge for research. We just charge for copies. So we try and be very approachable through the website. But no, we'd love to have people come and research in person, too.
Nice. All right. So with all that going on, I mean, you're continuing to digitize. It's just a process.
Absolutely. We have the State Imaging Lab as part of our division. So we scan the historic records for not only from our own collections, but also for local government entities and state agencies. We do projects with them sometimes as well. So.
Okay, awesome. All right, so Missouri's contribution to the 250 years goes back 200 of those years. It is vast. What are some of the things that stick out in your mind other than the Civil War that people should know about in Missouri's archives that people don't think about? Just off the top of your head.
Yeah. So I'll just pick on something current as well. I mean, so one of the things we worked on in our conservation lab was the original copy, the original transcript for Mark Twain's book, Tom Sawyer, and it's this week actually is its anniversary. I think it's its 100th anniversary, 150th, maybe it's even 200th anniversary. I don't remember the number, but the impact of Mark Twain that you mentioned earlier, it's pretty tremendous in American history. And you said the Civil War, but the border war between Missouri and Kansas, that has a massive impact. The Dred Scott decision, where the ruling of once free, always free for slaves is overturned, that has tremendous impact on American history. If you look at American history, Missouri history in those 200 years, the Missouri Compromise and all the different aspects of Missouri history are central to American history. Missouri has always had a central role in our history. I mean, at one time, people don't know this, but Missouri was actually being considered after the War of 1812 for the national capital to be moved here in the center of the country.
I had heard that because we are so centralized.
Yeah,
it would have
absolutely.
made better sense. I mean, it would have been harder to access by our enemies.
Absolutely. So it didn't happen, but, we've been a rail center and a steamboat center. Missouri's history is just tremendously important in the history of the United States. You can't separate
that we had a Kansas-Missouri war. I'm going to have to look that up. Is that why Kansas City's in half? Is that why it's in both?
No, that's not. But today the only echoes that you often will hear from that is the border war is competition between Kansas and Missouri football and basketball and those kinds of things. Although they don't think they play that often with football, but that border war tracks back to the predecessor battles between Kansans and Missourians when Kansas being established as a state.
That's crazy. Missouri State Archivist John Dugan. It's the 250th for the country, 200th for Missouri. We've had a huge impact on all things America. So if they want to go to the archives website, how do they get there, John?
Yeah, I would just go to our main website. It's SOS, like Secretary of State.mo.gov, and use any of the resources there. The archives is just one of the divisions in our office. All
right. Good luck to you and everybody in your office getting all digital. And give a shout-out to Denny and tell him I said hello, and best of luck to all of you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.